Much of the life cycle.
Anybody there?
Ready to rock and roll?
Hello,
Hello, Janice. Janice.
good evening.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, it is 3 minutes past 5 on the 19th of November. This is the Needham Housing Authority Board of Commissioners. We are meeting in our regular monthly meeting, and I'm going to start by calling the roll. Our Reg Foster is here.
Jim Flanagan is here.
Janice Bennett is here.
And Amanda Berman is not here because it happens to be right the second her son's 11th birthday party going on right now. And so that seems to be important to me anyway. And so we have a quorum of 4 commissioners. And I just wanted to note for the record that we are meeting in a hybrid fashion. As permitted by the order signed by Governor Maura Healey in March 28th, 2025, allowing us to do it this way, as long as adequate public access is provided, people on a remote basis and people on an in-person basis. And also that I note for the record here that public notice of this meeting was posted with the town clerk on November 14th, 2025, setting forth the date and the time and the place and the agenda of this meeting. So we are called to order. We have some guests today. Are they there by any chance in the attendees?
Yeah.
Why don't we bring in all the guests at this point?
Just to comments.
And you may have noticed, commissioners, on our meeting that we have a status report on how the seabeds project is going, which and it's really gone at this point. And so we'll be having a monthly in-person report as we go along here, as we near possibly going to construction less than a year from now. And that we have Matt Zajac here. I think I see to representing the Cambridge Housing Authority. We also have our chief architects of the 2 projects here. We had a big discussion last month about, resident concerns at both Seabeds and Cook and at Linden Chambers about hazard on the property. and how they had been analyzed for the projects we've been doing. And during that meeting, we said, this is not a bad thing for us to raise every few years, because it does crop up every few years as a concern. And so we brought the leaders of both teams, architects have been working on our projects the last 3 or 4 years, to basically make a presentation as to what the existing conditions are, and then also a little bit about how the renovations at Seabeds are going to be handled in light of this particular and then also likewise over at Linden Street, when we get there. We're not nearly as close as going to construction there, but we have Dan Chan, from the head of the BH&A team, the architect team, from Linden Street, and we have Ben Wilson, who's the head of the BH&A team that's doing the Seabed project. And I think many of the people in this room have seen both of these gentlemen before. I'm going to ask the board if it's okay if we take these agenda items out of sequence so that we don't have them have to sit through a lot of the other stuff. And then we'll come back to our regular sequence, and then to our residents that are here. It seems to make sense to have these presentations and the questions and answers with respect to that, asbestos, hazmat situation, both projects, and there'll be ample time, not only ample time for anybody to ask any questions they want while we've got Dan Chen and Ben Wilson there. Then we'll pick up the agenda at the beginning for just general resident comment on any other topics before we go into the rest of the agenda. So sound good to commissioners?
Yes.
Sound good?
Yes.
So let's go. Matt, you think you're up first? And do you need screen share from Cheryl on this here?
No, I think I'm okay. Hi, everybody.
Hi,
Great.
Matt.
Everyone, for anyone who doesn't know me, I'm Matt Zajac. I'm Cambridge Housing Authority's Deputy Director for Planning, and I am the project lead for the Seabeds and Cook repositioning project. So tonight I'm going to give you a quick overview of where things stand, and I'm going to divide that update into, I think, 6 categories. We'll talk about HUD, the current design, where the town approvals and negotiations stand, relocation planning, and then financing. So just to kick it off first is what's going on with our interaction with HUD. As everyone knows, HUD has been closed for over a month and they just recently reopened. So this is great news. It's going to help us move forward. And in the next month, we're hoping to submit a request to them to start holding units vacant at Seabeds as they become vacant, and that'll help with relocation planning. And the second big thing we're hoping to talk to HUD about in the next month is to schedule what's called the concept call. The concept call is
Matt, can you hold off a second?
Yeah.
Al is cut out here for some reason.
Gotta call Welbeck.
Is he still here or did he go?
He's there.
Is he still here, Greg? Will?
Boy.
Do I have to do something over here?
I don't know why it cut out.
Yeah.
I tried to move it because it was blaring in my ear and
Mm.
just touching it. Maybe the jack is.
What do you think,
here.
It's got, these are my options.
Picking it up as an option.
No, it's alive.
Try a reset, maybe?
Matt, can you say something?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's
But not over the owl.
not over the hour, yeah.
So,
I'm gonna try resetting the owl.
no, there's a, setting on here,
Mm-hmm.
you go to audio.
Yeah.
Carrot.
Yeah, I hit the wrong way.
And then you see owl.
Commissioners meeting.
Yeah,
Do you see it? I don't see it.
I don't see it, so I think this, you said.
Well, hang on a second.
I'll say something that people want us to. Everybody have a good night. Thank you, guys. See ya. Have a good night.
Hmm.
Red, you don't wanna try the old reboot?
Well, one thing I'm just gonna check here.
Something flashed on
Yeah, let's see if
Yeah.
it showed up again.
Right here?
Go look at the options,
All right. Audio,
scroll up.
scroll up.
No, scroll up.
Right. Are you talking
you go.
here?
Yeah.
Flash
I'm still not-
Yeah,
Still not on here. Yeah.
join the meeting to control your app. Okay.
Yeah, I will leave, one that knows how to do something else. We should have kept him here until we started.
I know you have no choice. But I think that's the song.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure there were.
I'm gonna join the meeting here.
Yeah, make sure all the connect.
Okay, and when I should be coming in here on my phone here.
It says speakerphone here, Owl Pro, and will now be used.
Okay, yeah.
See if I could start sound.
Yeah.
See if I can.
Video is back. I don't know if you guys can hear me through the owl.
Yep,
That's it, I read, we got it on.
All right.
looks like we're good.
All right.
That's it.
Plug on plug. Remember that one. USB.
All right. Sorry about
Great.
that, Matt. Could you pick up or maybe back up 30 seconds and pick up from there? Rewind?
No problem. So, our first update area was interactions with HUD. So HUD was closed for about a month, and now thankfully they are reopened. There's two big things that we're hoping to move. The first is to submit a request to hold units vacant as they become vacant naturally at seabeds. This will help with implementing the relocation plan. The other item that we're working on with HUD is to schedule and provide the materials for what's called the concept call. The concept call is, in some ways, the second big step in the process of closing the transaction. You get a chance to describe the transaction to HUD staff, and they ask you any questions. So it's an exciting milestone. I'll move to our second big area of updates, and that's design. So as the team knows, we've been working with BH plus A, a talented architectural firm, in order to design plans for renovation. BH plus A recently gave us a 25% construction documents cost estimate. And after some quality control work, that cost estimate showed a great picture for the project. We're coming in at the budget that we set or below. That is a really positive sign for the ability of the project to move forward. So BH plus A is now working on the 50% construction documents, and this is going to set up the ability to hire a general contractor in the first part of next year. On the edges of our work plan, we're doing a number of studies of the site. So residents will see some of our consultants walking around over the next month or so. You may have seen them already. So some of those studies that are ongoing are as follows. So first, we're doing an environmental report, And the environmental report is just an update of the previous analysis we've done of the site, and it's needed as part of the submission to HUD for the construction loan closing. We're also doing an update of the capital needs assessment. And this is a consultant going through the property and looking at each component of it, the walls, the roof, the stoves, and saying how long they think that those items could last. And so that really will help us to confirm that the scope of work that we have is covering the entirety of what needs to be done on site in order to have it be a well-operating community for the next 20 years. Our third area of updates we wanted to offer you is relates to the town and our interaction with them. I think for the commissioners, the big update is that we have submitted drafts of a pilot agreement related to real estate taxes and the CPA agreement for last year's award to the town. They are under review by staff and town council, and we are hopeful to be able to negotiate those and execute them in the first part of next year. If not, maybe we could get lucky and do it in December. Our next big topic for updates is relocation planning. We are excited that the plan is to host the first formal relocation planning meeting with residents in December. So that is tentative. We're hoping to send out a notice and confirm this in the next week or so. The goal of this meeting with the Seabeds residents is at a high level going to be to explain what a relocation plan is, what the components of it are, what the timeline will look like. And get any questions and feedback from residents on what that relocation agreement should include. That would be followed by the team drafting a relocation agreement and plan. That would be considered by the NHA board with the feedback from the residents that we received at that meeting. Their goal would then be to go back to residents sometime in early next year with the revised plan as approved by the board to get any questions, again, that residents have about that document. Finally, we wanted to give the board an update on financing for the project. As you know, we've been working hard to put together the puzzle pieces of how to fund this scope of work. And in the last month, we had some nice milestones. Some members of the Needham team were able to attend an award ceremony related to a Climate Ready Funding Award. And that's a really strong show of support for the project. We believe that there is an opportunity to help fill some of the remaining funding need by increasing our permanent mortgage. But we still have a little bit of fundraising left to do. In the last part of this year, two items that we're going to be doing are submitting a CPA application. The CPA application this year is submitted for around $800,000, and the scope of work that it is intended to fund is a roof replacement at the Seabed sites. So this is an additional scope of work that we wanted to add to the project based on some feedback that we got from the design team. The second piece of fundraising that we're expecting to do to close out this year is a submission to the West Metro Home Consortium for some home funding. You may recall that home funding is a source of federal subsidy for affordable housing projects. We already have a home award in the project, but you're able to go back and ask for more money. And we think that there's a strong possibility that we'll be able to get a little bit more for the Seabeds project. All in all, signs continue to point toward being able to put together a construction loan closing in late spring or early summer of next year. We'll keep you all posted through the monthly board updates on any changes along the way. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Great, and I'll just note for everybody in the board packet, there's the regular written monthly report from CHA on page 166 and maybe a little bit more detail, but basically covering the same topics. Let me just look to my left here and say, Jim, do you have any, or Jeff, do you have any questions or thoughts or something you'd like Matt to expand upon? Your concerns?
I just have one question relative to the sequence. You talked about how you're transitioning to 50% CDs to get GC pricing, but at the same time, you're doing a capital needs assessment. What if the capital needs assessment identifies things that are not currently contemplated or in the drawings?
Then the drawings would most likely need to be revised to include them. So the capital needs assessment is an update of one that we did last year. It's by the same firm. So we shouldn't be thrown any wild cards by it. But you basically have, when you have this type of capital needs assessment for a public housing conversion project, you have two options. You can either do the scope that it says needs to be done in order to have the project live for 20 years up front, so as part of the project, or you can say, we're going to do that particular piece of work in 5 years when you say it needs to get done. But if you do take that second option, then you need to show that you have money in the piggy bank. So one of the items in our development budget is a big reserve in order to fund that scope items from the last capital needs assessment that we said we're going to do down the road when it really needs to be done.
Gotcha. All right, that makes sense to me. Thank you.
And just to provide a concrete example for people who aren't as familiar with construction as you may be, Matt, maybe you could use the deferred replacement of the hot water heaters, a hot water system that I think is not going to be done upfront, but needs to be done in 5 or 10 years.
Yeah, it's a great example. So the system that currently exists in order to provide an element of the heat to the building, it has more useful life, and the boilers were a significant investment by the housing authority. So as part of our strategy, we're letting those remain in place until the capital needs assessment said that their useful life would be done. And then part of our budget in that reserve is for their replacement to a system that's fully electric. And so this strategy decreases the amount of funding that we need to get right now, while also being something that the funders who are interested in sustainability found to be appealing.
Makes sense.
And again, I'm doing this for everybody's education. So as I've come to understand it, we do intend to do this. But we're going to a much more conventional basis, P&L and capital reserve basis that is typically seen in the private sector, but not in public housing authorities, which is, if you know you have to replace something expensive in 5 or 10 years, you're setting aside money, every year to do that. And you have to start off with a certain amount of balance in the reserve to reflect these boilers I think they're about 5 or 7 years old since we just last replaced them. So you've got to have that balance sheet item in there up front, or you can't close. All right, great. Other questions? Go ahead, Jim.
A question. Matt, thanks for all the great work. Thanks again and for your help in securing the climate readiness grant. There's a lot of work behind those. My question is, best case scenario, when do you think initial stage 1 relo might happen? Next year?
I think that a best case scenario on a relocation plan is that we do our initial meeting in December. The board considers a relocation agreement in January, And then February or March, it is presented to the residents and starts getting implemented. And by implemented, I mean that the first phase of that would likely be folks who are interested, who raise their hand and say they're interested in an early transfer. An early transfer would be to another unit that NHA owns. So I think the first sort of round of implementation of a relocation plan, I would say best case scenario could be late March or April for folks who are interested in early relocation. And then sort of the more group relocation phase would happen, I would say probably May, assuming that we know that the closing is scheduled. But we'll be trying to ensure that the timing of relocation is synced up with the timing of when the project is going to happen because we don't want to move people too early. So I just want to sort of caveat everything I just said by saying those are very tentative thoughts on my part. But I hope that that gives you sort of the best case scenario right now.
I will reinforce for everyone listening, estimates subject to change, right? Thank you.
Always.
Janice, do you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, I got something. Matt, you first started off saying the redevelopment that you were going to speak of was Captain Robert Cook and Seabeds. And then you moved on to the redevelopment sustainability for 20 years. I could have sworn we were looking at 40 years for stability after the redevelopment because we're about that old now. So
Yeah, absolutely. So we are looking for developments that are sustainable for longer than that. 20 years is just the minimum standard that HUD sets in looking at the capital needs assessment. So the lens that they look through is 20 years, but we're looking to, at a broader level, create projects that are financed and built so that they're lasting longer than that.
yeah, I just thought I'd bring it up because it's a big jump.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Any other questions, Janice?
No.
Okay, great. Are there any questions on this subject only? You know, the project. We'll get to the hazmat and on both things in a minute from any of the residents online, here virtually or in the room. Yes, go ahead.
So curiosity question. Was you point me on her?
Yeah, you
Oh.
and speak up so that they can hear you or come up front. They can't hear.
How does it work when one transfers or relocates temporarily from federal to state housing?
Did you hear that question, Matt?
Just curious.
Yes, I did hear the question was how does it work when someone transfers from federal to state housing? I appreciate the question. Are you thinking in terms of whether you need to do additional certifications or paperwork to do that?
I'm not doing this on a personal level. I'm just curious about the question. I want to know the answer.
So I think there would be a process in terms of making sure that you're following the program matter requirements for both of them. So if it's possible that there would be additional paperwork, but I want to take that question back and have an answer for you during the first relocation meeting.
And Cheryl, you had something to add?
I just want to say that I think Helen is speaking from the context that the project, for example, Linden, that project will become a site-based Section 8. And is that what you're referring to? No. Okay. That's going ahead, but that's an interesting.
Well, so I think all these details are coming into focus and we'll be focused in next month on a meeting that is totally dedicated to these questions. So if you can just hold it for another 2 or 3 weeks, that would be great.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Question, as far as the relocation of people at Seabeds during the remodernization that will not be getting a unit that might be open elsewhere in NHA, are they gonna have an opportunity to be in Needham, or how far flung? I mean, where are they gonna live? Because a
Well-
lot of the time, it's just a
Yeah,
question.
great question. And that's exactly what will be addressed at the meeting solely on this subject right now. And we won't just have Matt here, we will have the consultant that is doing the program. So that person isn't here tonight.
What date is that gonna take?
We are just finalizing, we'll know by the end of this week, right? When that date is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Question
Mid-December somewhere.
about the recertification. I mean, my question is, will they have to be and have a full recertification that when they move or move back? Once they get to the new building, once it's renovated? In other words, when you apply for housing, they do, a full search of everything, and you have an application with documents and searches and databases. Are those tenants gonna be subjected to that before they move back to the units that are assigned to them at Seabeds?
So that's, again, another
I
one of the
can-
questions, unless you want to address it, Matt, here.
I can take that one. So the residents who live at Seabeds, they have a right of return. So anyone who currently lives there has the ability to come back as long as they're in good standing with their lease. Now, there's paperwork to do because you're switching from one type of housing to another. So there's going to be certifications that residents are asked to sign and paperwork they're asked to submit. But at the end of the day, they all are have the opportunity to come back.
And that's in writing.
Yes,
Yes.
and required by regulations.
No, I know,
Yeah.
but I'm still asking. Okay, thank you for answering.
All right, let's move on. We have Dan, Chen, and Ben Wilson. I can see you up there.
Thanks, everyone.
And thank you so much, Matt. And will you maybe take a few minutes to not do two presentations on the two projects, but maybe one presentation, because they're being careful about lead paint and asbestos and other stuff like that is similar for both projects, even though Seabeds is a gut renovation and modernization project, and Linden is a tear down and redevelopment here. But is one of you or
Yeah, why
Wanna
don't,
go
why don't I'll start off, and we don't have anything orchestrated, but I'll start since I haven't been in front of this group as much as Dan has. So I'm Ben Wilson. I'm working with BH+A and CHA and Needham Housing Authority on the seabeds. So the process that we're going through right now and I'm going to sort of focus this around the hazmat issue and the process of renovation. We have started this process off with the background of an earlier properties condition report that included a limited hazardous materials study and analysis, and we've worked with that. Then the CHA team has procured a consultant to come in and do a more thorough environmental review that's based on all the HUD requirements. And the HUD requirements get very deep into the asbestos, the lead, the radon, the hazardous conditions environmental conditions that they are concerned about with the living space. So that process is just starting. Residents will probably be seeing agent consultants doing testing and sampling of various materials around the buildings and getting into the nooks and crannies. The previous property condition reports analysis identified 3 areas, which are all very common, typical conditions. I think all 3 of these have to do with mastic or the adhesive that is used to secure floor tile or carpet to the structure below. So we'll be removing any of this after the testing and regulations are determined what's required to be moved. We'll be abating anything that is in the process of the renovation, and which sounds like it will be all of those materials. And the way that's done is in a very controlled and regulated process that is removing the materials in a way that are captured without causing any dispersion into the immediate environment, and contained and then disposed of in a way that's not just your basic landfill, but into a facility that's designed particularly for this type of material. And any lead process in the building is also taken care of, but that is typically dealt with by the contractor through a very defined OSHA-based environment control. And so it all gets documented very clearly, and the limits and scope of this work is very clearly defined. The process has to be applied through the state environmental agency to sort of develop a work plan for the removal, and that then has to be followed very closely. So this is all very typical of what we run into with this type of renovation. It's almost every project we do that has an origin that's more than 50 years of time that we're dealing with have some level of this kind of contamination that we deal with. So that's to say that we've seen it before and dealt with it many times, and I think what we're seeing here at Seabeds in particular actually looks pretty minimal. Dan, you want to talk more about the sort of the demolition process?
Yeah. Hi everyone. Dan
Hi.
Chan, BH+A. To sort of supplement what Ben discussed, at Linden Chamber in particular, I think as a complete teardown, the ACM asbestos containing material report was issued back in March of 2022 when we first started the project. And as part of that process, generally the abatement starts as a full demolition starts on the interior of the project, which is completely captured and monitored daily through a monitoring company such as UEC, who is a consultant to us. And then and those are taken to sites that are licensed to be disposed and also removed by licensed professionals. And air samples around the surrounding areas are taken daily as well. And when we do now move to the exterior of the project, the primary mitigation method when they do the mitigation is through watering down the dust as they are with contractors. And again, air samples are taken daily and those are reported daily. And so it's a fairly rigorous process. Again, this has to be done through a licensed demolition contractor. Just specifically to Linden Chambers, there were 185 samples taken at Linden. As you know, Linden has 18 buildings on site. And then there were 71 samples taken at Chambers, which is the 2-story brick building there. And then there were 31 samples taken at the roof. In general, the samples identified were very similar to what Ben discussed, the mastic joint compounds in the dry walls. There were some in the maintenance buildings, the 1-story maintenance building that are sort of south to the side of Linden. Majority of the roofs, asphalt shingles were not hot, as in ACM terminology, with some exceptions around the chimney. So, and one thing I would like to stress also is that abatement, or meaning asbestos-containing materials, are in good shape at these sites, at the Linden site. What that means is that without disturbance, such as a demolition, renovation, or these materials are stable, which means they are not releasing harmful agents into the air unless it starts to touched upon, with such as a renovation or demolition. So with that, I happy to answer questions or address any concerns.
Well, let's start in the room, and if anybody online has a question, please put your hand up so we notice that you have a question. Then let's just open it up to the residents and people in the room. Go ahead, Ross.
Thank you very much. The first speaker talked about property condition reports, and you said there were three areas of concern. The first one was mastic connected to the flooring. What were the other two?
Ben?
That was me. That the three areas were a vinyl tile that's in the lobby areas on the ground floor, and then a corridor carpet adhesive, and I think the third was also a vinyl tile that's up in the laundry areas. And I am not. Let's see here.
Well,
that
while
was,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying, go ahead and look, and let's see if there are any other questions in the room. Yes, go ahead, Marlene.
I have a copy of the asbestos report that's dated June 30th, 2023, and I believe that's what they're referring to.
For Linden Street, you're talking about Linden Chambers, yeah. Okay, go ahead.
It's the hazardous material report, asbestos containing material, Appendix E.
Go ahead, yeah. I just want to make sure everybody knew which report you're referring to here.
I've read it extensively, and it includes a lot more than just, I have a copy of it right here. It's windows, doors, floors, pipes, as well as roofing. And it's not just in the common areas, although there's a lot in the common areas and the laundry rooms where people are have been subjected to this asbestos and other chemicals for 2.5 years without any notice. In other words, the tenants have not even been notified. And I take exception because there is dilapidated conditions in both Linden and Chambers as far as the structure of the apartments and the buildings and the floors. And there are individual apartments that are also listed in this report inside of people's apartments. So you can refer to it. I'm sure you have a copy there. So number one, I want to know, why tenants were not notified that asbestos was found or other dangerous chemicals in their units and in the common areas that they're subjected to every day. And if the conditions are dilapidated, which if you lived here, you would know that's true because they are dilapidated. My flooring, for example, is completely cracked and broken. And they only replace it if someone moves out and they have to do a complete renovation for a new tenant coming in, if they think it's too cracked. So legally, they're obligated, any landlord is obligated to notify the tenants of dilapidated conditions if there's asbestos and to encapsulate. And in the same report for Chambers, there is a figure of $975,000 as an estimate for encapsulation or covering of the asbestos that was found in this report that I'm referring to. And in Linden, $875,000 for encapsulation. So in other words, it was found that it is dilapidated and it does need to be encapsulated. Otherwise, those figures would not appear. It's in the same report. So,
Your question is, you're asking Dan to address your point.
assume that.
Would you like Dan to answer your point or comment on your point?
He might not be able to answer.
Well, let's ask him first because that's why he's here, okay?
As far as the legal obligation to notify tenants, that has to be done by the Needham Housing Authority.
Well, let's have him answer the question first.
Because I'm assuming this recording is going to be available to Needham Housing on the YouTube channel.
Let's try to have an answer to your question, okay? Go ahead, Dan. Dan, you're on.
Yep.
You hear that okay?
Yes, I heard comments, but I don't know if what the question would be.
Well, I can summarize. No, hang on, Marlene. Hang on, Marlene. Hang on, Marlene. I'm not recognizing you. The question is, as I heard it, Dan, that 2 years ago, plus or minus a few months, we had a hazardous material report. You know what it is, that was part of the conceptual design process. I think Exhibit E, as Marlene said, and Appendix E, and she says it identified hazardous material that was not encapsulated or contained as you described it in your presentation, and I think your question is that true, and does that mean that we should have done something further about it?
So as I said on the ACM report, when they do take the samples, typically because of the extraordinary, they don't take a sample from everywhere. They take samples from localized areas such as joint compounds at the community building, for example, mastic for white line, 12-inch vinyl tile. These are based on the ACM's surveyor experience. These are likely candidates. Out of the 185 samples that were taken at Linden site, the 18 buildings plus the community building, certain elements were sort of identified as hot. These are 2% asbestos per state requirement, which then are identified as hot. There is a range in terms of whether it's 2% versus 45%. There are elements that are also much higher in terms of asbestos. For example, the wood fire door insulation at the community building generator room. So, and those are very, very rare instances. Majority of the asbestos identified materials are in the 2 to 5% range. I also stress that these elements per this report is, per the expert, is that they are stable unless disturbed as in renovations and demolitions. Now, when the material do crack, for example, if a mastic under a VCT is identified, and if it's cracked, and there may be elements that are released, that's something that we really don't know until we get into that particular unit.
Can I also just jump in, Dan, too? Is the hazard is really when the material becomes friable, which means that it's a dust that can be airborne, and even many of the asbestos containing materials, when they crack or break apart, they're still not friable. They're very contained. So there's it's a very benign material when it's bound into other materials. And I think going back to the estimates that are carried in those reports, and likewise, it's the same thing with the seabed report. Those estimates are, if you are to deal with, contain, or abate all of that material, that's the estimate that would be involved. They're not saying that that's what has to be done. They're not saying that there needs to be $900,000 worth of abatement on Linden, because if you're not doing anything with it, you don't have to. There isn't a need to take care of it, to encapsulate or abate. Now, with the demolition, you will have to encapsulate, remove, and dispose of in the appropriate way, which is a whole different cost level. It's a process that's different than if you were to deal with it in a renovation. But it would still have to be done, and that's what Dan's team is working around to capture all of that scope.
Let me see, Cheryl, if you or Greg want to add anything to the comments we just heard from Ben and Dan?
I don't have anything to add.
I have one other response to the initial question. The three areas that are in the seabed report were in common area hallways on the second floor, the lobby on the first floor, and then the apartment kitchen flooring. So those were the three that were initially referenced.
Thank you. All right, great. So I hear that the answer is that at least for tonight, that it wasn't a recommendation that would require a legal notification of anybody or doing anything about it, is what I hear. So Helen, go ahead.
Yes, there is though.
Excuse me, I'll recognize you again if you have a question, but not if you keep interrupting. I heard it and you did say something, and please don't do that. Marlene, we have this conversation every time. I promise I will recognize you, but I will stop recognizing you if you interrupt people or make comments, please. I request to have respect for Helen. Thank you. Go ahead, Helen. Yes.
The reason why we're modernizing, the reason why we're redeveloping is because these places are so old. They're so full of old materials, things that are now, yes, hazardous if they get exposed. You can go into the grocery store and you've got asbestos next to you. You can go in an elevator, you can go in the hospital.
Please don't address Martin. Tell the board, yeah.
Pictures of places that currently, maybe even in a bus, or a subway. We had it in the basement, okay? My father, he didn't know anybody. He was down there belting it out with a fan on the floor. And he saw me coming and I had to go around, but I tell you what, it's contained. One of the solutions might be people that are already afraid, thinking that there's horrible things in their environment that could make them sick and this and that. I think on the housing, negotiating together with or collaborating with the tenants, they could be informed that if you have, for example, a tile in your kitchen and it's loosened up, there's stuff under it, right? So it's they're obligated to report that to housing, and housing's obligated, obviously, to go and address the situation and take care of that. But if they don't see anything, people aren't reporting anything that's flying around. I personally don't see it as a big problem, because I know that when housing knows there's something wrong, they go and fix it. They have to. I mean, there's protocol for them, and it's primarily for the safety of the tenants. So, on and on, week after week, month after month, we have the people talking about fantasizing.
No, listen, let me not, please do not, everybody gets to be concerned please don't criticize people for being concerned.
No, I'm not.
Please, but I hear your point.
It's truth. And there's things that just aren't so.
Please, Marlene, I'm not gonna recognize you again if you stand up. Sit down right now, please. I will give you a chance, Marlene, but if you make that kind of if you do that again, I'm gonna say I can't give you respect, because we haven't finished with Helen's remark. And I don't want a demonstration and waving around and flapping arms, okay? I don't want that in this meeting. I want you to respect that Helen was talking. No, you didn't. Now, stay there. Do not talk to me. Go ahead, Helen, and finish.
Channel in, and what I just want to say that everybody's trying so hard. These people that I hear speaking on the other end, I know that the language that they speak, there's maybe, I researched it, there's 4 or 5, maybe 6 different ways you can get rid of this business safely. So it's not the same cookie cutter thing.
Well, let me just say thank you.
Yeah,
but
it's information because I'm the type that I don't worry about stuff.
that's
on my homework.
different people have different opinions.
Stand that, I'm not going there. I'm
Yeah.
just telling you how I roll.
Yeah.
As a tenant.
Thank you.
And one of the positive things we can do for other tenants is to maybe remind them gently with a notice that says, if you have any issues that need to be repaired, whether it be this or that, let us know, because a lot of times tenants don't. They're afraid sometimes to report stuff.
And again, I'm sympathetic to being afraid. I renovate old houses. I'm living in a house I'm renovating right now, and guess what? It's 100 years old, and guess what? You know, this is like deja vu all over again, you know, listening to this conversation. My wife is afraid, you know, so listen, okay. So I hear what you say, and Marlene, I hear what you said. And I hear what our experts are saying. And what I hear, and Greg, did you have a comment or not?
Just wonder what the baseline percentage of a material or exposed material is that you'd have to notify anybody.
So let's say for tonight, there was no such recommendation to do that in this report. And the concern is that maybe there should have been a recommendation to do something more 2 years ago, is what I hear Marlene saying. And so what I hear, because I want to make sure if there's not any other things that we need to address, is in Dan and Ben, you tell me if I hear you wrong, okay? And Marlene, you're going to tell me if I hear you wrong as well, because I know you will. That we did the professional reports. We did a very thorough one at Linden Street a couple years ago. We did a preliminary one at Seabeds, and we'll do another more thorough one shortly. But taking, let's say, Linden Street, where it's just further down the road in terms of being thorough, what I hear is that to do these reports, they don't take 10,000 samples or 100,000 samples of variability. They do a sample of 170 or 270. And I hear Marlene saying, well, that doesn't necessarily cover everything that I know about from living here. I hear you saying that, and that's right. And so what I hear, and so when we move along, is if you have a specific area that you think did not get sampled, okay, that is not of concern, that you should, you know, put a work order report in right away and not bring it to the board meeting, but say, here, this right here, I'm worried about this or something like that. Because, you know, a sampling is just that. It's going to just do 1% of the possible areas. But we're not going to be able to resolve it tonight. So that's what I would look to the executive director and to our director of maintenance and say, if there, you know, nothing prevents any resident from saying, there's a problem over here. I'm not, you know, there's a mouse under this, you know, this
Yes.
radiator here.
In
Right.
fact, you have a very comprehensive work order report in your.
Yeah,
packet.
so
we
I'm
take
gonna
very
say, let's
seriously.
leave it there, as if you know of things that need to, you think are concerned, that you're gonna file a work order report. And not go through our examples here at the board meeting where we can't do anything, and we get it in writing, and then we'll go from there.
Can I just have one short comment?
Yes, of course.
So when I first moved into the apartment 3.5 years ago, the entire floor in both living room and the bedroom area.
Are we talking about hazmat yet?
Yes, because it's in the
Okay.
floors, either in the tiles or in the adhesive.
Did you file a report 3 years ago?
Explain to you.
I don't need an explanation. I just need you to answer my question. They refused what?
To redo the floor. It was all full of cracks in the whole floor, the whole area extensively.
So you filed a work order report, and it was saying it's not needed, or we don't have money for it. Is that what you're saying?
If I didn't sign the good condition, the report of the condition of the pre-existing conditions of the apartment when I came to rent, if I didn't sign it and they had it all printed out, everything is in good condition. I pointed it out to them.
No, I'm asking about hazmat. Do you file about hazardous materials?
contractor. I can't prove that there's asbestos there, but I can tell that if, that there's.
Did you file a work order?
I told them, and they.
No. Did you file a work order? Yes or no?
I told.
And it doesn't really, doesn't matter. Will you file another one today, tomorrow, okay?
Me, I'm worried about all the tenants.
That's it. Wait a minute, Marlene. Of course you aren't, but you're a member of the Tenants Association, right? You're a board member, right? All right, well, why don't you make sure that, Marlene, do not interrupt me. Marlene, as a member of the leadership of the Tenants Association, would you please do whatever you can to make sure that other residents know that they have that opportunity to do it? If they have a concern, we have a residence over here that says they're not concerned, but we don't have all the residents here tonight, obviously. We do have a recording. No, you need, as a leader of the Tenants Association, to help us get the word out. Otherwise, why would we have a Tenants Association if you don't address a very important issue? Thank you. And do you, on this topic or a new topic? Jim, go ahead. Go ahead.
It's asbestos related.
Yeah.
My question is, has there been reported any injury or death in the last 10 years from a tenant to the Needham Housing Authority?
I know only one off the top of my head, but why are you asking?
What does that mean?
We had a murder here, about.
Well, that's asbestos related.
And to my knowledge, I've never heard of one of those. Have you heard of one of those?
My second question.
No, there hasn't been.
My second question, very briefly. When I filed my suit concerning the fire lanes, I put a paragraph concerning asbestos. And the attorneys answered, there's asbestos in some of the buildings, but not all of the buildings. I'm wondering, where did the attorneys get their knowledge?
I don't know the answer to the question.
Can you find out? Somebody had to.
All I'm trying to do is deal with what the concern of the tenants right now, not concerns you have because you lost a lawsuit, okay? So are you speaking as a tenant now?
Some of the buildings, no.
Or as a member of the leadership of the Residents Association? Are you speaking to us as
Speaking as an individual.
as somebody who filed a lawsuit against us and you want an answer? Which are you doing?
I was the attorney of record.
So I'm sorry, there are no attorneys here. I'm not having an attorney conversation with you. All right, you're out of order. Can you rephrase your question from the point of view that you live here or you're a member or of the leadership of the Tenants Association? Not a failed.
Well, really, I'm a tenant and I'm a vice president.
I got it. I said that. So what's your question from that perspective?
Your attorneys.
I'm not answering an attorney question. What is your question as a tenant? What is your concern?
I'll contact your attorneys and I'll ask them where they found out their information.
Okay, fine, good. Any other residents, any hands up? Do we have any hands up? Any questions from the board after listening to this here?
I have a
Janice, go ahead, please.
I have a comment actually, Reg. Getting back to the relocation. I just want to reiterate to the tenants that are present and online that anybody that is relocated is welcome back to the site and not back to their original unit. I think we have to say this every month because it's going to come up, and it has come up every month. So everybody that's relocated is invited back to their site, not their actual unit. But if they require a first floor unit, they will be granted.
Okay, thanks, Janice. And then certainly we'll get into that in a lot more detail next month when we have the relocation meeting, the kickoff meeting.
I just like to keep that fresh in people's minds.
I think that's why you're on the board as a resident commissioner, because that's important to keep repeating. Yes, thank you. All right, any other questions about what we've done to date and where we're going on, hazardous materials that every structure in the Commonwealth and the country has, including my very own house? Any other questions? All right, let's move on from this. Thank you so much to our consultants and Dan, we haven't seen you for a long while. We hope to get you back as a regular guest artist sooner rather than later here with.
Well, let me say I miss the people there. I look forward to opportunity to present the designs again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
And
you.
we have done agenda item C just now, and also agenda item, where are we here? PRI, where'd you go? Here we go. G1. Okay, so now we're back to the beginning of the agenda. General resident input. Not on hazmat topics, but on other things. Go ahead, Helen.
Is it progress being made for a possible field trip or something to go up to see the Walnut Knoll in Foxborough?
I don't know, I'm now vaguely recollecting that might have been mentioned.
Talked about it a couple of times, that with the Vice President Betsy Collins, I spoke.
Yes, I'm remembering that.
Meeting with.
So,
Cheryl.
so I think it was Betsy Collins, and of course they are our development partners for the Linden project. And all such things have been put on hold until we get closer to it actually being a reality. And I'm going to give a status report in a few minutes, where we're at with the Linden Street project. But right now, in answer to your question is, we're still 2 years away or 3 from where we are at seabed. So no, it's not. It's on. The idea hasn't gone away, but it's just suspended right now. No point doing it now because nobody's going to remember it in 3 years here. So okay.
We had a hand up online.
You have a hand up? Who's that?
Kalpana.
Kalpana, you're recognized. Go ahead. Can we hear you? You should be able to speak, Kalpana. You need to unmute.
Good evening.
We can hear you.
Can
Go
you
ahead.
hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
My suggestion and deepest request, when there is an open session for the resident input, please association members to be last after the meeting. Because it raised my blood pressure because of your blood pressure, Mr. Foster. Because the way you are getting aggravated and the people have no, I would say, basic knowledge how to be at the board meeting. I have another board meeting to attend, which is very, very important for my temple. And I will be late because of this crap. So please, my deepest request, keep the Residents Association at the last. Thank you.
Thank you for your suggestion. I'm not sure that's the right one. But go ahead, I'll think about it. I'm sorry you're inconvenienced. Any other resident comment here? Yes, go ahead, Ross.
Camera again. Yeah, a couple of things, just to, respond to Calpana. One of the ways we structured these meetings.
No,
was-
I don't want you to respond to Calpana. Do you have any other comments that you were gonna say?
Regarding, the structure of the meeting and.
No, that's not on the agenda today. I just recognized Calpana's comment and I said I didn't, excuse me, don't argue with me when I'm speaking.
Sorry,
We take turns talking here. I heard what she said. I said I'm not sure I agree with it. And it's not on the agenda to change that right now, but do you have any further? I've got my 3 minutes here, so let's not spend it on that, okay?
I didn't actually hear what she said, sorry.
Okay.
But, it sounded like what she might be referring to, the way we used to structure meetings.
So
Resident issues
No.
first. Okay, that's all I wanted to say.
I can explain it to you afterwards if you couldn't hear. You can sit in the front nearer the speakerphone and it'll be easier for you to hear, okay?
Yeah.
What, do you have any
Yeah,
input?
this morning, Greg and his able equipment operators were out working, making noise and blowing leaves around. I brought this up before. And there are places where the lawns and the gardens and the like need to be manicured because people like it that way. There are other places where it's not really necessary nor even desired, particularly around the back of the brick buildings, where if you blow the leaves away from the lawn, you ruin the garden and the soil, and if you blow the leaves into the drain, you stop up the drain. So it's lose, and it costs money, it's labor, and it makes a lot of noise. So this could be addressed, I think. If you want to be a green entity, you want to think about sustainability in the environment, you don't blow the leaves into the drains to stop the drains up, especially where the town is very interested in water related issues. So that's just one issue. And it's something that involves professional development. It might be a change in approach. Anyway, on another matter, the Linden Chambers Residents Association has met and removed a member of the board. There will be.
Excuse me, Marlene, do not do that.
That's the one we removed.
Excuse me,
There will be a report on that. I'm required to do that by the bylaws to indicate to the membership and the board that there has been a change and I will do that.
Right, the matter has been appealed.
Yeah.
It was an.
Excuse me, I will give you a chance in a moment, but do not interrupt.
That's a mistake.
I will not let you speak if you keep interrupting, okay? Let Ross, you have about I'm gonna give you back 30 or 45 seconds because you got the interrupted.
There was a very important project regarding the potholes. And I thought that was gonna give us a breakthrough where we could work together.
Deputies were not playing though, they fucking were dragging.
Excuse me.
On the pothole. And working with the health department gave a little bit of a spur to things, but it sort of fell through. There are other potholes that need to be done, but it's just not getting done. So I don't know what to do about that now. The Harmony Room guidelines that are coming up need to be reviewed by the residents through a residents advisory board or something like that, because there are some particularly problematical things regarding removing things that are perceived to be part of excess clutter or something like that. And it's been in the past when the housing authority and the staff start removing things that are owned by people, as some other people, the person that loses things blames somebody else if they have a problem. It happened in my building, and there have been other instances where the staff puts a date of, you must clear up anything that's not claimed will be removed on Friday. And then they start removing things a day early. Well, this whole approach sets up a problem. And Greg had the solution when we were trying to keep things here and things were just disappearing.
You have, your time's up, but go ahead, do you have a final point or two here?
No, that's it. Thank you very much.
So Cheryl, I don't think the board's received any notice of anything having to do with the change in leadership in the tenants association, is that right? Okay, but are you aware of this situation?
Not formally.
Okay, so when you become formally aware of it, I assume you will address it and let us know what's going on. Great, and
Since my name was mentioned,
yeah,
can I come? My name was mentioned and there's false information that was just given.
so we don't have any information. I did hear what excuse me a second. I did hear what Ross said, but I just checked with our executive director, Ed, and we don't know what's going on.
Email
I'm sorry.
today. So
I just heard, today means that that's not meaning, that does not translate and we know what's going on. And, but I believe you that you sent an email, okay? I'm asking our executive director to let us know what's going on when she knows what's going on. Okay? And I, for the minutes, yes, absolutely. I hear that you don't agree with what Ross said. Is that right?
State.
Do you or do you not agree with what Ross said? That's right. That's all I did. That's what we will find out more. Okay.
Did send an email.
I believe you. Did you hear me? Did you hear me say I believe you? You don't have to repeat yourself. I heard you. Do you hear me acknowledging it for the third time? Okay, enough. What else? Any other resident comment that hasn't happened?
Comment about the lawn. I think they did a good job because there's been nothing done with the leaves for 11 weeks and it's a fire hazard and a filthy mess with mosquitoes and.
Great. No, talk to me. They talk to Greg. Okay, great. Yes.
It needed to be done. They did a good job. Nothing was done for 11 weeks. Having huge piles of leaves, they need to remove it around the buildings because the ticks and mosquitoes from huge leaves all around the property needs to be removed, and they finally removed it. So
I hear you.
thank you.
All right, so we have a difference of opinion here. Anything else?
Take care of the.
Marlene, we have a difference of opinion. Do you have anything else you would like to bring up?
It was already about the community room, the, people, where Ross Donald said that items were stolen or whatnot. But he was officially reprimanded, to the best of my knowledge, by the executive director because he had taken over about a third of the community room with boxes and easels, and he was blocking windows and air conditioners. And this was a month or two ago when it was warm, and he had the whole room filled with half of the room filled with.
Sorry.
Oh, thank you.
Look, guys,
Serious.
you're now end of tenant input. This is not a place for you to have debates, okay? I'm talking, listen to me, Marlene, I'm talking. Marlene, this isn't a time and place for you to have debates. We are moving on.
Just making a statement.
I heard your statement. Your statement is an odd. I heard your statement, Ross, too. Now we're going to move to the next part of the agenda.
Yay.
All right. Good. Maybe we'll have a controversial agenda item about approving our bill and check warrant for the Inland Housing Authority of $543,762.68. And I promise everybody my blood pressure is still okay and I'm still with us here. I'm not about to keel over. I will make a motion that we approve the warrant that's in our packet.
Second.
Any questions from any members of the board meeting?
No.
Then hearing none, I'm going to call the vote, which has to be by roll call. Reg Foster, vote time.
Excuse me, but I have to leave.
Okay, good.
Standing.
Stop, Marlene. Marlene, stop. Marlene, stop talking. Marlene, all right, I'm asking you to leave now. Because you cannot stop talking. Marlene, would you leave now, please?
I don't think it's necessary.
Then Marlene, then you've got one more outburst. And we're going to stop the meeting until you leave. Okay?
Understood.
Thank you. So I was in the middle of calling the vote. Reg Foster votes aye.
Jim Flanagan votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
Jeff Engler votes aye.
And that passes 4-0 with one absence here. And now we have the High Rock Homes LLC bill schedule and check warrant of $32,824.95 as extensively detailed in our 1.5 inch thick board packet. I make a motion that we approve that. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Engler. Any questions from the board members on that? Janice, I'll call the vote. Reg Foster votes aye.
Jim Flanagan votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
Jeff Engler votes aye.
And that's 4-0 with one absence. Now we're on the consent agenda, which we consider as a group of reports that we received and the minutes from the October 16th meeting and the special board meeting of October 29th. Are there any items on this consent agenda that any board members think that we need to discuss in particular? Otherwise, I make a motion that we're going to approve all 6 items in the consent agenda, approve receipt of them. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Jeff. Hearing no further discussion, Reg Foster votes aye.
Jim Flanagan votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
Jeff Engler votes aye.
And that is 4-0 with one absence. Okay, we have done agenda item C. Now can we do agenda item D, NHA policies? Cheryl, the floor is yours here.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Get myself in order. The first policy is the common area policy. It came before you last month for your review and consideration. I sent you a memo, as you have in your packet, outlining the reason for the policy.
Which is on page, here we go, 112.
104.
104, sorry, yep.
It's important for us to, as you know, the purpose of the policy is to develop consistent and fair and safety-oriented standards for use, maintenance, and management of common areas, which are under our purview to manage and take care of. And, you know, because of the multiple developments that we manage, we like to have a uniform set of guidelines in place, which this policy represents. It talks about the purpose and scope of the policy. I'm hoping that the board would adopt this policy to promote uniform management and enforcement of common areas standards across all NHA developments, to support resident safety and property maintenance, to clarify roles and responsibilities between residents and NHA staff, and to reinforce NHA's commitment to maintaining clean, safe, and accessible community environments.
Great. Any questions or comments from the commissioners? Janice?
Nope.
Are we ready to vote on this policy? Okay, did I hear
What item are we talking about now?
So as I said before, if you sit up here, you'll hear me. We're on D1, Draft NHA Common Areas Policy, page 104. Okay, are we, do I hear a motion to approve this policy by?
I move that we approve the common areas policy presented.
Moved by Jim Flanagan. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I hear a second by Jeff Engler. Any further comments? I will just make one comment just as a reminder. Whenever we adopt new policies, we don't necessarily assume that it's 100% perfect. So we'll try it out for a few months, and then if we find that we overlook something or need some tweaking, fine tuning, then we'll do that.
Yep.
Good
So
comment.
we're not seeking perfection the first time we put a new policy in place. Okay, I'm gonna call the vote. Reg Foster votes aye.
Jim Flanagan votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
Jeff Pender votes aye.
And that passes 4-0 with one absence here. Okay, next agenda item is,
It was still continuing.
yeah, policy D2 is what I was gonna say, which is draft NHA private use of community room policy review and discuss.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I did put that in our packet. That's just for your review. Normally, when I present a policy to you, it's really for review, for your review, and then we vote the policy at the next meeting.
Right.
So that one, actually, I rearranged it in the packet. The one before that for your consideration today
Oh,
is
okay.
the community room harmony guidelines.
All right, well, that's all we're doing with D2. I'm just taking the agenda in the order.
I understand.
Okay, so everybody
not in order,
understands
okay.
what we're being asked for here, not comments, but I do want to add that again, if there are any residents here at the meeting or after the meeting that have comments on this policy, that they are, again, our practice is to have those submitted to the executive director, so that she can bring those comments to us next time around if they're worthy of consideration. Well, even if they're not worthy of consideration, but it's her job to consider them, and with all the other input that goes into that. And so that's what we will do, and then hopefully have a final version with whatever tweaks is necessary. And again, any commissioners who look at this and say, I think we missed this, or we could fine tune that, are invited to let Cheryl know in between. So we're not necessarily doing everything real time at the meeting. And that means we'll have a more successful we can get to approving it next time rather than saying, oops, there's one more thing we need to consider. So please don't put it on the shelf until next week and next month from now here. Okay. Now we're at D3.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And so that is the
draft and NHA community room harmony guidelines, review and approve.
Right. And so this policy was developed by a resident service coordinator who has reported to me reoccurring incidences of disruptive and disrespectful behavior during her very thoughtful the programming that takes place in the community room. Lori really was just sort of beside herself. She has been talking with me about her concerns for almost a year and a half. And really, not knowing what to do, she developed this idea of having a policy in place that has guidelines so that residents can be reminded of civility and decorum. Lori does a phenomenal job. As you can look around the room, you can see artwork on the walls, and this artwork is a result of an artist workshop that she had developed earlier in the fall. And the work that you see is a combination of that. And this is just one of the examples of programming, very thoughtful programming that Lori engages in for our residents. She also encourages residents to do their own resident-led workshops. So they may have an idea to do jewelry making or cooking or something. But during the events, there's often a disruptive atmosphere that takes place. And residents often leave. They don't complete the engagement. And Lori is just beside herself. So I would like the board to take into consideration this guideline policy, and I'd like us to be able to enforce it so that when incidences occur where they are not adhering to the guidelines and are asked to leave, that they leave. And if the disruptiveness continues, that they not be invited back. To try to engage, because our residents want to come out. They want to be involved. They want to be engaged. And I'm telling you, the programming it's very thoughtful and very, organized.
It's also very rewarding for the residents.
very rewarding. So
So-
that's, I have my outline here in the memo. The purpose of the policy, and the recommendation of the board, to approve the policy.
Yeah, and that begins on page 109 of the packet. So any comments or questions from the board members on this?
I have a
Jess,
comment.
go ahead.
It's been a long time coming since we've gotten something like this, and kudos to Cheryl for developing it. It's well needed. Trust me.
Go ahead, Cheryl.
Well, I wish I could take credit for it. I did not develop it.
Oh,
This
yeah, I'm
was
sorry, Laurie. Yeah.
Lori's, out of her frustration and her desire to move forward with the programming, develop this
She
policy.
feels if she has this policy in place, she can more effectively manage the meetings in a constructive fashion. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Not only that, but that more residents would come out.
Which is obviously a great thing to do too.
That's right.
And was this policy modeled after anything else? Did we borrow anybody else's policy and
No,
adapt it? It was
we have
just
not. Yeah.
addressed in this thing, so.
Yeah.
And
She vetted it with different organizations, talked about
well,
it.
that's what I'm asking about,
Okay,
yeah.
I'm sorry, misunderstood. And she did have myself and Michael review it as
Yeah.
well, talked about it with staff. It did come before you in August as a review, and I think there was a discussion amongst yourselves about the possibility of voting it.
Yeah.
And then, here we are.
Okay, so it seems to me that especially if this is a very active, ongoing, immediate problem.
Yeah.
That it makes sense for us to approve this policy,
Yes, Mr. Chair.
but also and of course, I'm just speaking as one board member when I say that, I'm just reacting what I hear. But also maybe presumably it'll start being used tomorrow, for the next month. And maybe we could get a report back on how it's working out at the next meeting. And maybe there's some additional fine tuning that might be needed. But to my ears, we absolutely have to have civility in every meeting that we hold, and everybody's got to feel like safe to come to the meetings and safe to express their opinions, even if those opinions are strongly held and different from each other.
Yeah.
And everybody has to be respectful of everybody. And I take it that's the objective here. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. Well, that makes sense to me. Any other comments in the board meeting members?
Yeah, I just want to say, I think it's probably a great time to get this policy established and voted on with what we're going to be dealing with coming up the next year with the residents.
And Janice, you're here as a resident commissioner and a longtime resident. Just say that. And then again, might need some fine tuning. I just want to say one other comment, which is, I've lived a long time, and the era we're in today, the last 5 or 10 years, this sort of problem is very common just in our society. When you read about contentious school board meetings and contentious meetings in other states. So, that we have these strongly felt opinions and somehow we need something like this that wasn't needed before. I guess I'm not surprised. I'm sorry. I wish it wasn't like that, but it does seem to be the nature of the times to me.
Yeah.
So
I would ask a question or make a comment too. I'm fully supportive of this policy. I don't have the details on some of these events. I would say the policy, in my opinion, is a minimum standard that residents should be asked to adhere to. But to me, there's a difference between acting like a jerk or having an opinion and then also, and from making people feel unsafe or feel threatened.
That's very horrible.
And that to me is more than just being asked to leave. I would ask our council, could that be considered of a lease violation? In which case, if you have multiple, you can be evicted, because just asking someone to leave, that's one thing. But if it happens on a recurring basis and it's to that level, that's not okay. And to jeopardize the culture and environment for other residents is terrible. And those types of residents, should not be allowed to live here. So I think that needs to be differentiated and looked at, because I get it, like what you're saying, Reg, in the society we live in, people have difference of opinion, and that may be unpleasant, and I get that. But if people are acting aggressively and making it unpleasant for everybody, or I don't know if it rises to threatening or whatnot, that goes above and beyond just asking someone to leave. That should go on their record.
So that's a really interesting comment. You're right.
Can
When
I,
you feel-
can I, just interject for a minute?
Yeah, go ahead,
I
Janice.
want to and then you can talk, Reg. I wanted to respond, to you, Jeff, because as I'm sitting here, I'm getting text message, email message after text message of residents saying that they need this policy and more, and that they are scared to come out into the community. So kudos if we can do better.
So Janice, again, that's why we have a resident commissioner. We've always had one, even before one was like mandated by state law, regulation. I think we're onto something here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say, again, suggest that we vote this policy and see how it works.
Yeah.
But
The other thing is, people from seabeds, they don't want to move over to Linden Chambers. Telling you right
Okay.
now,
Well, that's a
because they're
different-
afraid. They are
Yeah, hang
afraid.
on.
I've just gotten 3 emails about it.
Okay, all right, good. So you're on point. Let's ask our executive directors to check with that. Because what I hear is the sort of thing where we need not just a policy, but some way of enforcing it. And maybe it's not 1 strike and you're out, but if it's, be 3 strikes and you're out, but there would then have to be some legal way of formally noticing the disrupted person that they're behaving in a way that does not cause other residents to feel unsafe. Is there's sort of 0 tolerance for that. Maybe it's 1 strike, 2 strikes and you're out. I don't know what the right answer is, but yeah, let's look into that.
Yeah.
And then have a report. Maybe even Jonathan can come next month and
That would be
tell us
great.
about it.
He did a workshop that I attended called protected speech and what you can and cannot say in public.
Yeah.
So, but I will bring this up to him and perhaps ask him to address this.
And again, maybe it's also setting expectations clearly. And maybe it's a training thing. Maybe it's a communications training sort of thing, because I do know that Driscoll and Driscoll do actively participate in various training things, and maybe this is a training thing for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, the training is well and good, and I'm not saying don't do
No,
it.
I'm not.
But we're talking
Need
about
both.
Yeah, but we're talking about adults here. We're not talking about nursery school people. I mean, people at this age should understand civility and how to interact with other people. Once again, there's some subtleties about having an opinion, which, listen, we're not all going to agree, and some people are more, shall we say, enthusiastic than others in expressing their opinion. That's very different than creating a hostile environment or physical threats or just emotional threats or volatility. Those are the things that we need to govern. But somebody, to have a spirited debate, I don't think that rises to this. But when people, it sounds like what Janice is saying and others have said is there's a feeling of uncertainty, of a lack of safety, of feeling threatened. Those are the things that we need to, whoever those perpetrators are, formally attach something to their record, and after a certain number of quote unquote violations, we can proceed with an
Great
opinion.
item. So we'll do that. And do I hear a motion to approve this policy from
I make a motion that we approve the community room harmony guidelines.
Second from Jim. Hearing no further discussion, Reg Foster votes aye.
Jim Flanagan votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
Jeff Engler votes aye.
And that's 4-0 with 1 absence. That passes. Okay, we're now on Executive Director Report. Agenda item E, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Floor is yours, Cheryl.
So, I would like to, Michael, can you, put your camera on and unmute yourself?
Yes.
Right? Um, you all have had an opportunity to meet Michael Thorstad at previous meetings. Michael has been recently hired as our, Deputy Executive Director. Michael comes to us, Michael's been with the Housing Authority for 6 months. He started in April 7th of this year. He came to us from Newton Housing Authority by way of Express Staffing. He worked with, for a brief period, Mike Lara and the Assistant Executive Director at Newton Housing Authority. It's a lot of staffing changes that were happening over there. And Michael's, the opportunity to review Michael's resume came to me during that time. Right off the bat, Michael and I had a warm and friendly conversation on the phone about his desire to work with Needham Housing Authority. Michael, as you can see by his resume, has a law degree. He also has a master's in business, and I think there's also a master's in science. He's well educated. He's very kind and well, I can say soft-mannered. He's in the 6 months that Michael has been with the agency, he's never shown any. He's been very steady in his calm manner with everyone. And he has proven to be a tremendous help to me. He has an analytical mindset with, comes from, I believe, your law school experience. My son is an attorney, and I say the same thing about him. It trains you to be really analytical, and you're great in that regard. And you have done many projects for me, moving the needle forward. Including today in your analyzing of our IT contracts. So I'm very thrilled that Michael is here. He is an asset to the agency. He has the potential to do really great things for us. And I'm excited that he has accepted the position as Deputy Executive Director.
I want to say thank you for such kind words, and also thank you to not just Cheryl, but the Board of Commissioners and everybody offering the Deputy Executive Director role and my acceptance. I'm very excited to continue to work for the Needham Housing Authority in that capacity, in that role. And if anybody does look at my resume, I just have one small correction. I do hold a Juris Doctor, a law degree. I'm not a certified attorney, meaning that I have not sat for a bar or passed a bar. I'm not a licensed attorney, but I do have a law background with a Juris Doctor, as well as a Master of Business Administration, an MBA. I completed the coursework at American University in Washington, D.C.'s Master of Political Science program. I didn't receive a master degree, but I completed the whole program coursework except for the final comprehensive exam. Other than that, if anybody has any questions for me, I will answer any questions regarding myself, my background, or my role.
Well, and thank you so much for that, Michael. And I think that's maybe finding a way to meet you, and on a more informal basis than just in a board meeting when we're looking at the clock and needing to get out the door. That might be a good idea to do. It's when you and Cheryl are ready to do that, sort of like an open house.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea. And I would also just correct one thing that you said. Which is that, just to remind, since we have new board members, especially that the board members do not have a formal approval or any offer rolling, offering you the position or anything else like that. There's only one employee that we do have that, and that's our executive director to my right. And
That's right.
and she has you know, the you know, responsibility, not only just from a best practices point of view, but just for other reasons in both state and federal law and regulation and so forth. So and you know, very often the executive director does it, you know, ask for advice or, you know, so forth, or in the case of you, you've been doing things for the last 6 months, so we certainly know who you are, but it's really her decision to do so. So, and I would just say, starting off, that congratulations to the both of you, because this is this is the second hardest position in the Housing Authority to fill. The hardest one is that of executive director, and those of us who've been around a bit have known that. In fact, I think there's only really been one other deputy or assistant executive director I can remember in the last 15 years, and
Cheryl.
that's the one that seems by right here. So, great news from my point of view, because there's way too much to do. And go ahead, Jim, or any other board member.
I'll be brief. Congratulations, and Michael, thank you for earning the position and supporting us so far today. I'm looking forward to the future, and thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would echo Jim's. We appreciate you, Michael. We look forward to working with you and working with Cheryl, and certainly, you know, plenty for you to do. And we and the residents and the whole authority, I'm sure, will benefit from your involvement.
Great. And Janice, any comments from you?
Yes, I want to congratulate Michael for all the good work that he's already done, and especially in helping Cheryl.
Thank you.
And look forward to working with you, and hope you can bring a lot into the office for us. Let Cheryl work a little less. She works so many hours and so many days.
Well, that's great. And so let's move on with that, and maybe having a meet and greet at some point in the future, you know, when we're ready to do that. And I would, again, one other thing I would just express one of my own personal opinions about what boards of anything, boards of commissioners, boards of directors, you know, board at IBM, you know, one of the things that we exist for is to make sure that we have the best leadership at the top. And then our job is to support that leadership and help that leadership be successful. And so that's where I'm coming from, not just to Cheryl, but also whatever I can do as a board member to help you guys be successful. That's my prime objective here, one of my prime objectives. All right, moving on. Anything else more ordinary in your executive director's report that you want to bring up?
No. Well, I do have the IT proposals in our packet.
Yes, go ahead.
And Michael has done a great job of really reading them over for me and reaching out at my request to the contractors with additional questions. And we learned that as a result of that exercise, some of the contracts are more complex than we realize. For example, Team Logic has a very comprehensive master's service agreement. We, at Michael's request, asked that they give us the entire agreement. They had not initially did that. And looking over it, Michael's opinion was that it's very comprehensive and would require our attorney to look it over.
Okay.
There are some other hidden charges in there that are not apparent in the initial proposal slides. BMC does not have a master service agreement, so we think. We've reached out to them to confirm that that is the case. They are a state contractor. And the proposal looks like it can provide me what I need for our agency. They're very expensive. And so that's my only concern about that. We want to find out whether or not there isn't a service agreement that is not included in this proposal. If there is not, I may make a decision to go with BNMC. I like what they offer, and I believe they can provide us with the proficiency that I'm looking for. And then our current provider is TechWave Group. He hasn't submitted a new proposal. I've asked him to do so, and he has not. He is aware that I'm going through this process of looking at more service providers because we need more. We're still using desktops. You know, everything is in the cloud, so there's no reason for us to have desktops. We just have a level of proficiency that is not adequate right now. My computer itself has too much space on it. We don't have SharePoints. So there are things that we're just not operating as proficiently as I'd like us to operate. And I think BMNC can give us that. They have experience with working with other housing authorities. They are a state contractor. It turns out that we're currently paying $750 a month for our IT services, and BMC is definitely more than that annually. But they are within the state contracting procurement requirements, so we wouldn't really need to go do an RFP or get additional quotes.
Okay. Anything else on your executive report?
No, sir.
Any questions on any items? All right, so let's move on to F, financial services updates. So I'm gonna, you want to do this one or I'll do it? Okay, so F1, fee accounting services update. We had a special board meeting, as we all know, most of us know, but I'm repeating for the people who might not know, last week, and we had one proposal that was far superior in terms of being advantageous to the Needham Housing Authority to take over fee accounting services from Sean Milne and Robillard, our longtime fee accountant that announced at the beginning of the spring that they would be discontinuing with us. And that winner was formerly known as Marcom, our longtime auditor for the last 6 years, I think, and now known as CBiz because they merged with some other companies. And this wasn't just, a second choice or, oh gosh, we have to do it. They really brought a lot to the table. So the board in the special meeting approved the engagement of them. The engagement letter, I still haven't seen it today.
It's today.
It's coming today.
Yeah,
But in spite of that, we're having a kickoff meeting tomorrow for a couple hours to kind of get going. And so that's well in hand at this point. So stay tuned for further developments there. F2, one of the things that government accounting and regulations and practices and ethics and everything else is one entity cannot serve as both our accounting, outside accountants and our auditors at the same time. So with our hiring of CBiz to be our fee accountant, it means they're stepping down starting with the fiscal year, calendar year, 2025 year as our auditor, and we need to find a new auditor, which can be done. So we have re-engaged our consultant that helped us with the fee accounting. There is we'll use the same process we did before. We'll put it out for bid. Can you mind turning the ringer off there, Marlene, please?
Mine, I don't. Just shut it off.
Yeah, so do you mind taking it outside of the room, please?
It's not my,
Okay, thank you.
don't accuse me.
I'm not accusing you. You were holding the phone and I'm just asking for it to be taken out of the room if it rings again. Okay, thank you. All right. We are, using the same process. We hope to have a recommendation for the board starting in, probably in the first week or two of, January. Which would be plenty of time for that new entity to get up to speed, and start work on the 2025 audit for Needham Housing Authority, for High Rock Homes LLC, and then our third and brand new entity for the first time, the Needham NHA Development Corporation, our nonprofit organization. We formed it earlier this year. The one change is that, after some discussion with Cheryl and, Jim, we're recommending to the board that there be as before, a selection subcommittee. A selection subcommittee, but it consists of Cheryl, of course, and myself, but Amanda Berman, and she isn't here to speak for herself tonight, but I did ask her about this. She is our treasurer now, so it's quite appropriate that she would become involved in this and also in overseeing and being part of the transition from in our fee accountants. So she's going to be working on that. And Jim is hanging up his spurs for the time being on these sorts of things, and now is a free agent when our next thing shows up here. So at least until Jeff gets through his honeymoon period here.
Yeah, right.
We haven't got you yet, Jeff, here, but you know, something will come up that will be helpful. All right, I don't think we need to take a vote on the selection committee unless anybody here feels like it. We'll just record that that's the sense in the minutes, and in due course, that selection committee will get back to the board with what their recommendations are in terms of the proposals we receive here. Okay, we spent a lot of time on agenda G already, so I'm gonna just skip to some of the important things that haven't been mentioned here. So I think we know everything we need to know about Seabed's Way preservation and modernization project, except for one thing. One of the things we need in place, and we have in place, is our NHA Development Corporation, which is a wholly owned 501c3 nonprofit organization that is part, subsidiary basically of the Needham Housing Authority. And since the last board meeting, we received the IRS approval. So the normal process is that when you form it, as we did, actually it was effective January 1st or 2nd of 2025, then you submit your paperwork into the IRS, and it goes into some big consideration black hole process, and then you get approved. And we received our approval letter. So that's a big milestone, because we are going to be needing to use it with the Seabed project, that is hopefully, knock on wood, 9 months from going to construction here. So that's the one other Seabed thing that didn't get mentioned earlier here. And that, of course, is applicable to the Linden Terrace project. We'll need it for that, but not as soon. The news there is that the NOFAs, the Notice of Funding Availability, have come out for the winter 2026 round of tax credit round, and the preliminary applications are due on December 2nd. Same process as last year, so I'm not going to repeat it here. So we are in the final stages of strategically deciding whether it makes sense for us to submit another pre-application or take a pass, because we do not have the fair cloth units from Seabeds to in our hand to use. And there's various considerations that go into that just looking at the clock, I'm not going to get into, because but we will know next time whether that happens or not. next meeting. Next thing to report on, G3, is that the application for $788,000 of more CPA funds from Needham did go on time, the same application you reviewed last month, and that process is now kicked off. We've got the monthly reports. There was no comment on earlier, and there's nothing administrative to report on other than, and Cheryl and I think we see the end in sight on this massive 2-year grant reconciliation process that we've been doing on, and had hoped to report that it was done in this meeting, and then son of a gun, our federal government leadership decided not to spend any time, send out any SNAP benefits for November, and so that blew up 2 consecutive meetings that we were going to have on the subject. So we figured, well, we'll get to that when we make sure that our residents are at least protected against this instability that's happening at the federal level. That's all I can say. So, any questions or comments on that? All right, so we go to new business. H1 affirmative action goal in tenant selection and state aided public housing. Cheryl.
Yes, okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. So, this, we actually received a finding on not having this in place in our PMR. The affirmative action goal was developed. The affirmative action or fair housing market plan, language access plan, and reasonable accommodation plan was all completed in 2022, my first year as an assistant executive director under Steve Merritt. But we had not completed this last leg of that process. As I said, we had a finding in our PMR on this, particularly in the area of minority households. It was determined that we were not selecting these households to be considered for elderly and disabled housing, 667 program. So we've come up with we borrowed a policy, and we hope to have this adopted. Once it's adopted, it will get submitted along with our state annual plan, and it will be included with our policies. And EOHLC will be happy that we have completed this process. I've attached the the PHN notice that goes along with this, that this is all related to state housing. And this will be updated in our CHAMP housing module as well.
Now, are you just notifying of us this meeting, and we'll prove it at the next meeting?
No, I need you to prove it now, and it needs to be done before the end of the year. We're overdue.
Okay, well, in December, it's still before the end of the year. I just asking you.
Yes, sir. But that would be the very last. I mean, what if we don't meet in December? We're out of compliance.
Well, we have 2 meetings scheduled in December, right?
Yes, we do.
So,
if you'd like to take time to review it, if that's what you're asking me, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I do like to get this,
but again, our standard policy, except for emergencies like starving tenants, residents, is to, introduce it in meeting number 1 and then prove it meeting number 2.
Yes.
Does that meet your time goals here?
I like us to do it now because it's overdue. It should have been done.
Right.
It's been brought to our attention by EOHLC that we're not in compliance.
Here's what I would hear you saying.
Yes, sir.
To be in compliance with our own internal policy.
I know.
No. Let me rephrase what I thought I heard you say.
Okay.
Which is because we should have had this reviewed many months ago, approved many months ago. You would appreciate it if we could approve it tonight. And then if there are any changes, we can always change it next time, but you need it to deal with our
Thank you.
Compliance. Lack of getting it on time by now.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying? Yeah, so that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Janice, any comment?
I'm
on
good.
that?
I'm good.
Who wants to make a motion to approve this?
I'll make
I
a
motion that we approve this.
I heard Jeff making it and Janice seconding it. Here, any
Thank you.
further discussion? Reg Foster votes aye,
Jim Flanagan votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
Bruce Bengler votes aye.
and that's 4-0 with one absence. And please put it on the agenda next time if there are any tweaks that anybody wants to bring. Okay.
Okay.
Now, we have our last agenda item, and I know Mr. Engler has to leave in 3 minutes or so.
I can join on being.
No, that's okay. We can do it in 3 minutes here. So everybody here except maybe our 2 new commissioners, and one of which is Amanda, who isn't here, has been through the annual process more than once or more. Every year we do a performance evaluation of the executive director. I would propose that we have a sort of a spin-off training session for, orientation session is probably better for Jeff and Amanda. And that we don't go into a lot of detail tonight because Amanda isn't here anyway. Our process is that we have a forum that we use, and we collect our comments together. We publish the process at the November meeting, as we are now. We ask the commissioners to return the filled out form individually without consulting with each other, because you're not allowed to consult with each other due to the open meeting law. And since it can't be done by the executive director, because the executive director is the subject of this, that comes to the chair. And the chair sets a deadline, which I'm going to propose for getting the individual forms in. I'm going to propose that we give ourselves 2 weekends, and that Monday, the 2nd of 1st or 2nd of December is when you get your individual review back, and we'll find some time to do that orientation session. If it needs to take a little bit longer, I'm allowing until the end of the 5th. But then I assemble it, but I don't consolidate it or summarize it. I just assemble it into a packet, and that goes out. And then normally in our December monthly meeting, we do the performance evaluation. And again, a very unusual, unique dimension of doing executive directors or town managers like Kate Fitzpatrick, is that review needs to be done in public. You can't do it behind closed doors in executive session like every other performance evaluation I've ever had myself or delivered myself in the private sector. Now, that's all I'm going to say for tonight. And I want to segue from there to call people's attention to the next meetings. You got to go. Yep. And the only thing I'm going to say as you're going out the door is that we may flip the monthly meeting and the budget meeting because of more time than is needed by CBEDS to get ready for the budget meeting. So with that, I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
And hearing no objection, Reg Foster votes aye.
Jim Flanagan votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
Bengler votes
As he walks out the door.
Bye, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry to push it so long. Take care. Have a nice day, evening, everybody. I think we can turn the recording off at this point.
Bye, Janet.
Night.
Bye, James. Yeah.